This session is all about understanding how to be successful, or rather, how to make your career successful in the age of AI or the digital transformation. As you guys know, that the involvement of tech has also increased to a drastic level of extent in the MBA curriculum too. It's going to be very, very important for you to understand which MBA curriculum, be it the specialization, electives, or majors, or the whole let's say the curriculum of MBA will be more relevant for you at this point in time at the age of digital transformation. And this certainly will also be helping you out to understand which college certainly can help you out to make the most of the digital curriculum which is available at this point in time. So we thought we'll do a webinar with all the IMS students at this point. We have called Dr. Mohamed, Minhaj, who is a senior faculty who has more than 15 years of teaching experience plus consulting experience and is a senior faculty at SDMIMD Mysore. Hi, Dr. Minhaj. A warm welcome to you. It's a pleasure to talk to you this evening.
I'm very happy that you have been organizing webinars on contemporary topics related to management. I'm sure this will help the prospective candidates of MBA, the aspirants of MBA, to get better prepared for their MBA journey. Coming to the topic of today's webinar, it's about AI, artificial intelligence in general, and specifically about, competing in the changing landscape of business. I'm sure the term artificial intelligence is not new to any of us today. Of course, until recently, for many of us, artificial intelligence was an element of fiction which was depicted in movies and novels. I'm sure you'll agree with me. But today, things have changed. Alexa, Siri have become household names, right? So we have been seeing, hearing, and reading a lot in the recent times, which we could have not even imagined until recently. When you look at the screen, right, you see a person. I would appreciate if you can guess the person, if you can just put it in the chat window. Take a guess. Okay, so somebody's saying Sophia. Yeah, it's Sophia, absolutely. Yeah, appreciate that. Basically, the point that I was trying to mention is artificial intelligence, which until recently, for many of us, was an element of fiction being projected in movies and novels, has become an integral part of society, integral part of business, right? And so we see a lot of things in the recent times which we could have not even imagined. So the first example, your friend just identified this as Sophia. For people who are not familiar, friends, this is a humanoid. So is this something new? Not really. Is this the first humanoid? Again, the answer is no. So what exactly is new then? Any guesses again? It's a robot, you're right, and it's a humanoid. It looks like a human. That's right. But what I'm trying to say is this the first robot? The answer is no. So what do you think is really new about this? If you're not familiar, friends, this is the first humanoid to get citizenship of a country, right? Which we had never, heard in the past, right? So this is Sophia, a humanoid developed by a Hong Kong-based robotics company, right, which got the citizenship, right? Likewise, if you look at the screen now, we also, saw this news about a US woman marrying a chat bot that she created using AI, right? Of course, what you see on the screen is the visual image of that person. When I say chatbot, of course, it's digital, it is virtual. For your information, there is one platform, AI platform called Replica, right, which will allow people to, create their digital avatars and, connect with people and things like that. So this US woman, after creating this chatbot on that platform, after interacting with the chatbot, felt that, right, she cannot get any person better than him as the life partner, right? And so she announced that she got married, and it got viral on social media. From this, probably some weird, and I would also say something casual, we have seen some very serious things which AI has done, right? One such thing is about AI compiling a book on its own, right? And it's not one, there are many now, right? This is just one example that I've mentioned here. Likewise, because we are discussing this in the context of business, there was world sensation about AI developing and tasting its own energy drink, right? I'm referring to one energy drink manufacturing company called Hell Energy, which announced in a big way that one of their new product was completely developed, tested by AI. And when I say tested, I hope you understand, it's not like a human that you can drink. It's actually going to analyze the data, look at the behavior and the past preferences of the people, and then probably validate and classify this as a particular type of taste, something which is being liked by people and things like that. But the point that I'm trying to say is AI today, right, is in the news, is in the limelight today for a lot of things which we could have not even imagined, right? Further, when you talk about chatbots, which is not new, right? We have been seeing some sort of digital virtual chatbots even on websites. But what is new? The new dimension that has been added to it in the recent times is about sophisticated AI-based ordering systems, right? Which are chat systems which have been deployed, implemented by global leaders like Domino's, IKEA, and many more. The beauty of these products is that the end user can hardly differentiate this with the real human. That's the kind of sophistication that Trident brought in now, right? So the earlier chatbots, it predominantly used to be text-based. Even if you have an audio, beyond a point, right, human intervention was needed. The moment you ask some questions which is not part of its original data set, original questions, it cannot respond. So it used to connect to a human. But now, thanks again to the developments that have happened in AI with all this reinforcement and other types of learning, right, they are able to bring in a system which is performing exactly same as humans or sometimes superior than a human, right? So what does it imply? I just gave you some examples as to what AI is doing today. So is it going to really take away your jobs, right? This is the usual discussion that we get to see in the recent times. We also see this as a concern, right, among the students community, among the parents, about AI taking up the jobs and things like that, right? So how many of you think AI is going to take away your jobs? Just type in S in the chat bot, please. Again, in the interest of time, I'll proceed. I see some responses. Some of you have said no. Some of you are saying that, okay, it's not no, but it may take away some jobs. And you're also being positive and saying that it might create some new jobs. You're absolutely right, right? If it's going to take away all our jobs, what are we going to do, right? Are we just going to eat 5-star and do nothing? I'm sure you had an opportunity to see this ad, right? It's again getting viral where, it is talking about all the future jobs being taken up by AI, and humans are left doing only one job, which is nothing, right? So I hope students do not take that ad very seriously, because when you talk about AI, on one hand, we are talking about the promises, right, that AI has to offer, the strengths that AI has, right, the capabilities that AI has, but it also has certain lacunae. it also has certain limitations, right? That's being discussed by the business leaders across the world today, right? It's not just lacunae, sometimes even concerns, right? One such concern you notice here is about AI teaching itself a language which was not by design. This machine, AI machine, was not developed to, learn this language. But what happened is, it was developed for a different purpose, right? But it was realized later that, it was doing few things which were not in the control of humans, not in the control of the creators of that machine. So there is a need for governance today. There is a need for some sort of control. That's the point that I'm trying to say, right? And also, I'm sure many of you would have seen and read about, the deep fake and related fiasco about it, right? A lot of cases have been reported even in India in the recent times. And, thanks again to our government, which immediately reacted to this and have brought in some new regulations on this, right? But deepfake again is considered to be very dangerous. Because in the recent times, we also saw some deepfake videos which surfaced on internet, particularly during this wars and things like that, which impacted on the sentiments of the citizens of those countries, right? So this is again a concern. So what I'm trying to say is, the black box approach of AI, it can do a lot of things, right? But it can do a lot of things which we don't want, right? It can do a lot of things which, we cannot control. So there is a need for governance, right? And there are some issues like deepfake, etc. In light of these concerns, in light of these lacunae, some of the world leaders, including Elon Musk, have called for, some sort of slowdown on AI development. They have appealed to the tech leaders of the world to slow down on AI development. Because the feeling is, if it is not governed, if it is, not having that kind of controllable parameters, right, it can do more harm than good, right? Besides the global business leaders, right, several other national leaders, including our Honorable Prime Minister, have also expressed concern about some sort of biases that exist in AI systems, right? So I've talked about some strengths. I've talked about, I would not call it as really weakness, but probably some concerns, some lacunae, right? But what does it imply? Going back to our original question, will AI really replace you, right? So a lot of researchers, based on some survey, a lot of business leaders have expressed the same sentiments that AI may not replace you, definitely may not replace you, but it may replace you, right? I'm sorry. Yeah, some, people with better skills of AI will definitely replace you, right? As you see on the screen, AI will not replace you, but people using AI will, right? So people who are better equipped, better acquainted with AI and the other relevant skills which are needed today can definitely replace you, right? Again, just connecting to one of your response in the chat window, where you said it may take away some jobs. You're absolutely right. What kind of jobs? Probably some mundane, some sort of, I would say, basic, jobs, which does not really require a high degree of intellect, can be fully automated. And there is nothing new about it. This kind of automation is happening, will continue to happen, right? You take up, different industries which have been impacted by automation, right? When I say impacted, both positively, negatively. Negatively in terms of taking away jobs, or probably that, people who were doing that mundane jobs, and positively because of the improved productivity, right? The saving in the cost, etc. Let me give you one or two quick examples here. medical transcription, I repeat, medical transcription was a very promising industry until recently, right? Which involved transcribing, which is digitizing the medical records, right? Predominantly in US and other places where you have social security and all the medical facilities are provided free of cost. So when a person visits a doctor, right, what he's supposed to do is he's just supposed to produce his identity. The doctors will do the required procedures, and then they're going to claim their fees from the insurance companies, right? And for that, the medical documents were supposed to be prepared in a particular format, right? Which the doctors cannot do, because if they start doing that, right, they may not be able to really focus on the other aspects. So what they were doing was they were outsourcing this to a lot of other companies in countries like India, Philippines, and others. So they were just sending the audio files. So the entire medical procedure observation, right, they used to record it as an audio, send those audio files to these companies in India, and people here were actually sitting and transcribing it, putting it in a appropriate format, which was needed for submission to the insurance companies and passing back to the doctors. That, as I tell you, was a promising industry. I mean, there were thousands of people employed in this industry. Things changed. Today, right? Not just today. I mean, even some years back, right? With a lot of improvements in audio to text conversion, right? This human intervention became redundant. So a lot of people became irrelevant to this particular job, right? So like that, we can keep talking about several cases where, with advancement of technology, right, with if people do not upskill, if they're not reskill, they may become redundant. They may become irrelevant to the industry, right? The same thing is going to happen with AI as well, right? So if you're still talking about probably the traditional skills, if you're still talking about some basic data entry, if you're still talking about some sort of audio video conversion, if you're still talking about some basic content writing and things like that, right? We are not needed to do that, because AI can do this at a much faster rate and in a much accurate way and in a very, very economical model, right? So what do we do, right? Particularly the prospective candidates, I'm sure many of you are concerned that, okay, if AI is going to take away our jobs, what are we supposed to do? Are we going to compete with AI? No, not possible, right? I hope you are able to understand what I'm saying, friends. We'll not be able to really compete with AI, right? It's not about you versus AI. It's not about, you or AI, right? It's not about competition. I think we need to collaborate. We need to complement each other. AI has its own strengths. Me and you as humans have our own strengths. The concerns that were expressed, probably the biases that AI brings in with the data, right? And probably not being emotionally intelligent, right? These are our strengths. So we need to really look at how do we complement each other, right? It is going to be us instead of me and you. It has to be us. That has to be the approach, right? So what are we supposed to do, right? Of course, upskill, right? Of course, reskill, right? Get acquainted with the technological developments that we are seeing, right? And when I talk about technological developments, I'm sure you have identified the logo on the screen, right? Can you just describe this logo? Can you tell me what is this associated with? Some product, some company name? I'm sure many of you know this. I'm referring to ChatGPT, but I have a reason to emphasize on this tool, right? Many people use ChatGPT synonymous to AI. They think AI is ChatGPT and ChatGPT is AI. That's not true, friends, right? ChatGPT, of course, has a lot of potential. It can do a lot of things, right? All of us use it, no doubt, right? But is it the only thing that we are talking about when I say AI. No, right? It is just the tip of the iceberg, right? ChatGPT can do a lot of things, but when I talk about AI that the industry is talking about today, it's an ecosystem, right? It has, of course, tools like ChatGPT, but there are a lot of other things, right, which together is helping organizations to solve their business problems. It is this ecosystem which is helping companies to identify new business opportunities. So future management leaders like you have a big role to play, right? You need to, of course, adapt and absorb AI, no doubt about it. But there are a lot of other skills, right? That there are a lot of other aspects that you need to develop to really complement and to survive in the changing landscape of business, right? So let me just talk about those aspects in a little more detail. So ChatGPT, as I told you, the whole world is talking about it. Everybody, is trying to somehow, connect with ChatGPT. On a lighter note, you can see this. Even some, tea guy is, trying to leverage on ChatGPT's popularity by calling its store as Chai GPT, which is, genuinely pure tea kind of a thing, right? So does it mean ChatGPT is not big? We should not look at it? No, we have to. When I say it's just tip of the iceberg, right? It's important, right? And it is phenomenal to see that some of the technologies which took years to, get million users, ChatGPT could garner it in just 5 days, right? The number of users, reach 1 million in just 5 days, which is phenomenal, right? So we understand that it is big. But again, I would like to repeatedly mention, I'm again saying this, friends, with my own experience, right? As a professor in a B school with my other consulting assignments that I've been doing, right? So some of the company HRs have also expressed this. We have also experienced this with the student community, right? That they get, so dependent on ChatGPT, right? And they feel that this is the only thing that, the industry needs for tomorrow, right? Which is wrong, right? So there are a lot of other things that you need to really understand. There are a lot of other things that you need to really acquire, right? What are those other things? Let me just talk about that and then, come back to ChatGPT again. Right? Besides getting familiar with, AI technologies, AI tools and technologies, it is important that all of you get data literacy. What I mean by data literacy is, you talk about analytics, you talk about artificial intelligence, you talk about machine learning, right? All of these things are based on data, right? All the business problems which are being solved with these contemporary technologies, all this contemporary technologies which is helping companies to get edge over their competitors is based on data, right? So I think the first thing that what you have to do is, believe in data, start valuing data, right? In whatever form, in whatever way you get, right? So if at all you are able to, really start believing in data, right? And then also acquire skills revolving around, data management, data visualization, right? Or data cleansing and things like that, it can make a big difference. And as per several recruiters, this is one skill which still continues to be crucial, right? So as, I would say aspirants of MBA and as, aspiring business leaders of tomorrow, I think you should pay attention to this, ensure that you really acquire skills related to data management, data retrieval, data visualization, and things like that. I'm intentionally avoiding some of this technical jargons, but all that I'm trying to say is believing in data, right? Understanding the value of data is something that you should all pay a lot of attention to. And of course, something that, I'm sure your own mentors and your own instructors there would have emphasized your communication skills continue to be important in spite of all the AI developments, right? We see the changing approach, right, of students when it comes to writing their reports, right, writing their emails, creating their CVs. They try to, I would say, use a lot of tools like ChatGPT for that, and nobody is discouraging them. In fact, most organizations are, advocating the use of it. But what is important is, I mean, when you're using these tools, you should not lose on your original creativity. You should not, really, lose on your, I would say, the honest sentiments, right? So what may happen is, if you're too dependent on these tools, you may not be able to really convey the right spirit behind whatever that you wanted to convey, right? So how do we balance this? You need to strike a balance, right? You need to really come up with your own content, etc., right? Rather than just asking ChatGPT to create an email that you want to send to a recruiter, or asking ChatGPT to just create a report for your marketing assignment, etc. You can probably come up with the basic structure, right? Which you are good at, and that's your strength as humans, right? And then complement it with the strengths of AI tool like ChatGPT, right? Give the basic text, right? Ask that tool to probably refine it, to give it a professional touch, right? Probably to check for the spelling for it. Check for the spelling and grammar, right? Ask it to rephrase it, to probably, make it more professional and things like that. And it can do that very well, right? So that's the idea. The third important thing that I would like to emphasize is, right, you need to be a continuous learner, right? Your learning does not stop, right? And it's all the more important in the current age of technological developments, right? You may learn a particular technology, and by the time you start adapting it, by the time you get into a job where you can really prove your skills, right, those skills may get outdated, right? So it's important that whatever that you learn, right, you look at ways of taking it forward, look at ways of adapting it to a given situation, for which you need to become a continuous learner. In fact, across B schools, right, there are, new courses which are being offered, which is about learning to learn, which is helping people to become a, continuous learner, right? So whether you're going to do it with help of some MOOC platforms like Coursera, or whether you're doing it with, social networking sites like LinkedIn, or you just depend on YouTube, or you read books, right? Irrespective of that, how do you continuously learn, and how do you probably relate with whatever that you already know, and how do you enhance your skills? How do you improve your overall understanding of things, right? And how do you look at how your skills, how knowledge can fit into the scheme of things of the organization that you're going to work? That becomes very, very important, right? Another important aspect, friends, is about creativity and innovation, right? So, of course, AI can do a lot of creative thinking, can do a lot of creative work, right? But as I tell you, again, we need to capitalize on our strengths, right? If at all we can come up with, the basic structure of things, and then, try to complement with AI, it can make a difference, right? It can definitely improve our productivity, right? With all this, right, your domain specific knowledge is still the most crucial aspect, friends, right? Whether you believe it in it or not, whether your peers and your other friends, right, subscribe to this idea or not, right? Take it from me, friends. This is what the recruiters, this is what the researchers, this is what the academic community feels, that you still need to be strong with your academics. You still need to be strong with the chosen, the specialization, the specific domain that you choose, be it marketing, be it finance, be it HR, and things like that, right? So let me just connect the dots. We started our discussion about the developments that have happened in AI, and then we wanted to, look at whether these developments, right, is it going to, take away our jobs? And, with some examples, we saw that AI is very powerful, no doubt. It has its own strengths, but it also has certain limitations. As humans, we have our own strengths. So it's not really about you competing with AI. It's about, how do you complement? How do you probably, collaborate with AI? So to become successful, for which what is needed is, of course, you acquiring new knowledge, new skills about AI. But apart from that, some of the things that I mentioned here on this screen becomes very, very crucial. That you become data literate, you improve on your, you work on your communication skills, you become a continuous learner, don't lose on your creativity and innovation, right? And still be strong in your domain knowledge, right? Whatever that you're going to learn in your management schools, in your B schools, right, will still become relevant, right? And I'll tell you why I'm emphasizing on these things, right? Today, if you talk about some sort of, I would say, analytical model building, if I give this example to you, right? Say you want to do something about, say, market basket analysis, right? For people who are not familiar about market basket analysis, it's the recommendations that you get when you visit an e-commerce portal. You add something to the shopping cart, right? The company does not, just stop there. The e-commerce company will not just stop there, right? It will give you some recommendations and say people who purchase this product also purchase this, right? So it is just trying to, upsell, cross-sell, right? So this is done with help of what we call it as recommender systems. So when people are trying to build a model, right, to come up with recommendations from the past data that they have, the way they were doing it in the past and the way they do it today, there is a significant difference. I'm saying this with my own experience handling such courses with my students, right? So in the past, there used to be a lot of, I would say, data cleaning activity that we had to do. There used to be a lot of coding that we had to do. Today, thanks to some of these systems, right, you just need to plug in the data. The software can take care of cleaning it. The software can probably build that model, right? Then what are we going to do, right? We may not be involved in data cleaning. We may not be involved in actually, getting into the nitty-gritties of the model building, right? In terms of the mathematical nitty-gritties, the algorithmic nitty-gritties, etc., right? But something when it is created, you are the ones who are supposed to validate this. You are the ones who are supposed to, identify the correctness of the results, right? And then try to, relate it with the problem that you're trying to solve, which can happen only if you're strong in your domain knowledge, right? So whatever domain that you choose, friends, right, you need to be really strong with it. And then, of course, adapt some of these technologies and see how you can have a marriage of these two things. Your domain knowledge and, some of these advanced technologies can make a big difference, right? It can definitely give you edge over others, right? So this is my, submission. So as I tell you, AI, we need to look at it as tools, right? Basically to enhance our productivity. It's not looking at it as something which is going to replace us, right? So ChatGPT or any other things, of course, you need to continue to learn, right? And in fact, as I told you today, there are, I would say, thousands of courses available, even for ChatGPT, right? So why? Because, unless you understand some of those procedures, some of those nitty-gritties, some of those steps, right? You may use ChatGPT, but probably you may not be using it optimally, right? To give you another example, friends, in the past, when we were using search engines like Google, right? All the people who were using Google, right, can definitely get results, whatever results they want, whatever information they want from Google by just searching. But I'm sure you'll agree with me that the amount of time and efforts that they are going to invest is going to be different, right? I mean, if I can just experiment it now in this session, right? If I ask you to, find a specific piece of information using Google, I'm sure each one of you in this, meeting will be able to get that information. But the amount of time and efforts that each one of us would have spent on it would be different, right? Because there may be one person may get it with just one click, somebody else may get it only after 7 clicks, right? So it requires some sort of, I would say, techniques that you need to get familiar with, right? To become better or power users of Google. Likewise, ChatGPT, you may be able to, just give in a query and get results. But these courses which are offered, by a lot of private agencies and now being part of the B schools also, right, will make you better users of AI, right? So please look into those aspects. One is about the tools and techniques. Finally, I would like to take this platform to give a brief conceptual background about AI. After saying that ChatGPT is not the only AI that the industry is talking about, there are a lot of other things that you need to know, right? So I thought probably I'll use this opportunity to just give you a brief background so that you can think that these are things that you need to learn, right? I think you need to take stock of, what you know and what you need to know, right? So about AI and whatever other domains that you're going to actually choose. So AI, for that matter, right, is a term which became very popular recently, but is something which is being researched for several decades, right? The term AI came into existence, in fact, way back in 1956, right, and was coined by John McCarthy. And after that, we have seen a significant, research in this particular domain, right? So the large language models, ChatGPT and other things that we are talking about from the last 1.5 years, right? Not that it did not exist, right? It was probably in a primitive form, but it was being used by select industries. It was being used by select researchers. The only change that we see now is that it has become mainstream, right? So it has seen a lot of actually developments earlier. But for all this, right, the fundamental question is, what exactly is intelligence, right? Whether you talk about human intelligence or machine intelligence, and the marriage that I'm talking about between the human intelligence and the machine intelligence, it's important to understand what do we mean by intelligence exactly, right? Intelligence, right? When you look at it in a very formal way, it talks about a definition like this, which might be intimidating, right? So I'll not get into those final details, right? But the essence of this definition is, friends, it is, adaptability, right? It is the change. If you cannot change, if you cannot adapt, you're not considered to be intelligent, right? So when we talk about human intelligence, right, it is about some of these aspects about, making sense of things, figuring out what to do and things like that, right? So this is what is intelligence. But as I told you, the essence of this is whether you can change, whether you can adapt, right? So human intelligence, when you talk about, there are ways of measuring it, right? One measure happens to be in the form of IQ, right? So we talk about, genius, we talk about, people with average IQ and people with low IQ, etc. There is a way of quantifying your intelligence, right? So we have been talking for the last 40 minutes about intelligence, but not about human intelligence. We're talking about machine intelligence. We're talking about artificial intelligence, right? So are machines really intelligent is the question, right? So the point is, when I talk about machines which are made by people like me and you, it is made by humans, right? They may have high capabilities. They may be able to do a job, right? A given job very accurately, right? At a very, very fast rate. But is it really intelligent? by the definition that I just mentioned to you, is it adaptable? Can it change, right? The answer is no, right? It can just follow the instructions that have been given to it. You talk about any machine, right? It has some, predefined procedure. It has some predefined steps. It can do what has been told to do, right? It cannot change the course of action on its own, right? So when we try to bring in that capability in machines, right, that it can adapt to a given situation, that is where we say the machines have intelligence. That is where we say, the machines are smart. And of course, this intelligence in machines is not natural. Me and you as humans, intelligence is natural. Machines, it's not natural, right? So that is why we use a word called artificial. We are trying to embed, we are trying to bring this intelligence artificially into machines with help of data, algorithms, and things like that, right? So related to this domain, there are a lot of other things that I said you can take stock of your understanding, and if needed, you can pursue it further. I'll just run through some of these things, right? It's about some of these early use cases of AI, something like Deep Blue, IBM Watson, right, which became very popular as artificially intelligent machines, right, which became so popular that industry started looking at some of these technologies to solve their business problems, right? And the notion of machine learning, right? I told you what artificial intelligence is, but in that context, another term which frequently co-occurs is machine learning. So what exactly is machine learning? Some of these things I'm sure you can really look into it. As I told you, I'm not here to really explain some of these conceptual aspects, but I thought of just giving you some pointers, right? Because I know many of you will be pursuing your management programs shortly, right? So in many of these institutes, you have courses which are exclusively focusing on artificial intelligence, machine learning, and in many other cases, they are now becoming part of some of your functional courses, right? For example, we are talking about AI in finance, right? We are talking about AI and automation in marketing, right? We are talking about something like HR analytics, HR how it can leverage on artificial intelligence and things like that, right? So some of these aspects you're going to actually cover as part of your preparation. I thought you could definitely look into these things. As I tell you, machine learning, what exactly is machine learning, the different types of machine learning. And when I talk about artificial intelligence, right, the different degree of intelligence that we have, weak, general, super intelligence, etc. What is being projected in the fictional movies, friends, is the super AI, where it enslaves humans, right? But that's a far of theory, right? The far is there, because what we have today is at best weak AI, or we have general AI, right? We have still not reached to super AI, etc., right? So some of these things you can definitely look into, right? So finally, I just want to again mention this point and close my talk, and would be more than happy to take any questions if you have, right? So it's not the strongest of the species that survives, not the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. So AI is changing the landscape of business. So as future business managers, as future business leaders, I think you need to take this in both letter and spirit, that change is important, right? Adaptability is important, right? So learning new skills, right? Unlearning few things, right? Relearning becomes very, very crucial, right? So with this, I would like to close here, and then I'll be more than happy to take any questions that you have.
Thank you, Dr. Minhaj, for this wonderful session. Students out here can shoot the questions in the chat box or the Q&A section, which is available here. Dr. Minhaj, I also want to understand, how is the MBA curriculum being changed with the, let's say, the drastic involvement of the tech and the AI? We know some of the colleges even even started the MBA degrees in AI and DS.
Absolutely.
Some of them are giving them as a micro electives, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Obviously, the evergreen specializations will continue to grow at the same pace. So, but even if someone is doing a general management degree, which is not taking a majors or minors in tech like AI or DS, how can someone leverage on learning these skills? Which are the platforms where they can learn these skills?
See, there are several platforms, but let me talk about our own curriculum. The first year being, common to all the students. Besides learning the important functional courses, in the recent times, we have also added some courses which can address some of these contemporary dimensions. There was a course related to IT, right? And after some time, we also brought in analytics into it. And now we are also bringing in AI and machine learning into it. So that irrespective of their specializations, right, they are equipped with at least the foundation of AI, ML, even before they embark on their summer internship projects, which they take during their, the annual break after 1 year, right? And then by then the students are in a position to probably take stock of their strengths, weaknesses, keeping in mind their educational background, their career roadmap, etc. And then what they do is, some people who are, really aligned towards this domain, they get into specialization of these courses, and others who are not able to really specialize, either as it will because of their other preferences or because of their academic weaknesses and things like that, they at least have this foundation so that they can, make best use of this in their own chosen specialization.
How challenging is this to equip ourselves if someone is coming from a non-technical background? People who are doing their bachelor's in commerce or humanities, obviously they also have to leverage upon the tech side too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So is it a mandatory thing that, okay, if someone wants to do MBA in IT or analytics or AI, has to definitely come from the tech background, or people from non-tech background can also do a wonderful career? Yeah.
Even in the past, there were a lot of people from non-technical backgrounds who were getting into this domain. But of course, there were certain gaps that were identified, and students were asked to, address those gaps either by additional reading, taking up some additional courses and things like that. But today, the things have changed, because when I talk about this technological background, predominantly when you talk about IT, probably coding and things like that, right? It's not becoming a real requirement, because the whole world is talking about, no code to low code kind of an approach today, right? So you're able to automate, you're able to bring in a lot of AI, right? But you're leveraging on AI. So if you have your foundation strong, you'll still be able to do this without really going into, code level changes, etc. So to answer to your question, so can non-technical background students take up technological courses? Yes, of course they need to, put in some extra efforts, but it's not that it's not possible. And companies are also actually, comfortable taking these students, because, the fundamental skills which were needed in the past, that has changed today. So if they have that required skills today, I'm sure they will have good prospects.
Yeah, I'm sure colleges will also help them to nurture these skills in the 2-year journey too.
Yes,
right?
indeed. Yeah.
So, all right, Dr. Minhaj, thank you so much for taking time out and talking to all the students. Listening and talking to you was very insightful. If at all we can get the presentation too, we'll be happily circulating with all the students who are a part of this session. Thank you so much, sir, for taking time out. In the
It's
future,
my
I'm sure
pleasure.
we'll session. Thank you. Thank you so much
Thank
to
you.
all the
Thank you.
students.